Alright boys and girls, and welcome back to another building video. This time I'm bringing you guys our team's base design for the Kick Rivals event. That of course did have a little bit of a controversial ending, and it's unfortunate that the event wrapped up in such a way where Team Allrat and Team Recoy both wound up sharing the win. Now this is just a base design video, so nobody get mad at me. I was just pretty proud of the base, and I reckon that you guys could also get some usage out of this one. Overall it was a good event. We didn't fully get to put the base to the test, but essentially it was a 15-man design that needed to be defendable at all stages of the build while supplying enough open core space, bedrooms, and defendability for us to defend mega online raids. I think I managed to tick every box with this build, and I'm super impressed with how it turned out, and I reckon you guys are going to like it too. So let's take a little look at the base that won Kick Rivals. Alright, let's get into the tour now of the base. Of course, this has been tried and tested on the Kick Rivals event, but overall, I thought the base was super sick, and while I was streaming, there was definitely a lot of people asking for this one. It's a standard 4x4, so this can be used by you guys on vanilla and modded and such. For all the 4x4 enjoyers, this is now my favorite one. Now, I kept this single TC to ensure nobody took our tool cupboard, but you can easily disconnect the wide gaps and external those. And remember guys, this is just a catchy title for a video, okay? Nobody get mad at me for this. I know that it's a controversial win, okay? Big respect to Team Recoy. They did smash it, bro, and I have some good friends on that team and some dangerous players on there for sure. But this is just me trying to show the house, okay? So hopefully nobody is annoyed. Okay, I am Switzerland. Let me tell you what we got going on. Consider checking out the Patreon for $5. You can gain access to 20 private bases, all varying in group sizes, and I will update this every single month. And big thanks to everyone that's on there already. If you're not already sold, you'll also gain access to any future versions of the Spink Box that I use in my PvP videos. And there's a brand new tier on the Patreon where you can gain access to priority responses, and you can even load into my own private server where I can load in bases to these cool and unique island spawns to record my cinematics and tours. The server is also filled with a bunch of useful plugins, and the slots on this will be very limited. You can also load in sanctuary codes completely lag-free and check them out on this server too, surrounded by some very nice generated plots. Join the Discord down below to gain access to all of my PvP and building settings, plus a bunch of useful binds. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, you can purchase yourself a fully custom build down to your exact specifications. A true prize for you and your team to utilize in wipes for your eyes only. But yeah, we have compound here, and of course you can add some turrets to this. In the event itself, you weren't allowed turrets, or they said you weren't allowed turrets, and then you were, they're just rare. So the way I set it up is just kind of a basic compound here, giving us a lot of shooting floor potential where people can't wall, and then I just spam gatehouses through. This is where you would do externals though, if you were looking to make this not single TC. But honestly, if you're unmodded and you can afford the upkeep, then single TC is kind of the method at the moment. Just means that there's absolutely nothing for raiders to take, yeah, really good for anti-raid base. I'll try and skim through this because the base is low-key massive. Again, there's going to be a lot of shotgun traps as well as turrets because this base was designed mainly to play off turrets. But this is our first kind of layer here, and we do get a China wall. Haven't done a China wall on the channel before, I don't think, so this is how we're looking. We've got chain link shotgun traps here as well. Those are super strong and hard to take out, and they're just placed in some convenient areas where we would expect raiders to be around. You kind of just jump up on top to utilize the China wall, so we get some spam of Brutalist here all the way through, and then some tight patricos down here as well. And of course these angles open up when the high walls are blown, and then if anyone is hugging the China wall, then you can look down the long kind of way, and that's for anyone that's kind of hugging down the sides here. And these are good angles that you can utilize. You can also jump up, and I like these towers. I think I'm going to be rocking these kind of style towers a lot more. If you add a triangle on every side, you get the kind of downward from here, just opening up the door, and then you get the angles here, and a locker inside for these bed kits. Super nice. And there's a windmill up top, and that's pretty early game windmill as well, so keep that in mind. That comes off the freehand here, and then this is your main base kind of connection, and then this is the wide gap reconnect up top. And you could just not have these frames and build an external off if you'd rather do that. Or you can go the single TC method. Underneath is some bedroom spawns with some tight angles to retake around our China wall section. Nice long downward angles here, and it also looks into our other shell as well. So we get the beds here, we get a locker inside, and then barrels on top of the Patrico for all these beds to respawn. You can fit a bed for the whole gang on all 4 of these. Next level that we enter is just a second shell here. Raises up some of our wide gaps with walls to keep the core a little bit safer and a higher wall count as well. Over here is a little quick drop down. That's from inners straight to floor. It's a good little drop out of the base. This extra shell you can just spam with deployables. It's just a good second level of defense. And you can have some turrets coming through here as well if you'd like. These kind of watch through, you can see. We got 2 entrances into the base, and they are my standard kind of retake. From here we can then jump up, the retake's there, and then we enter into our shell. This is a basement 4x4, so keep that in mind. And I've gone for a slightly different setup here, which I really like. I'm going to be using this more as well. These bedrooms are perfect. It gives us a second retake there, plus our inner peak downs. So we get 4 of these in total, which is really nice. And then the door opens up. It's more of like a dropout bedroom. You wouldn't really be coming in from this direction. So you get a retake into shell, boxes above, you open out from there. And you can also look up into your inners 2 from here, which is pretty cool. And of course, there's 4 of those. And then we have 4 drop downs into basement, 4 retakes as well. Half wall to play off of for the head glitch. Nice inners all the way around, full coverage, I really like. We can drop down now into our basement. Basement is set up like this, so it's not a full wraparound. That gives us the mega starter in the 4x4. These are our retakes into the shell. Nice and good for early game. That's what's important in the event as well, is early game protection. This is the front door retake here, watching anyone trying to jump up our chute, and it's the same retake on this side. As for the starter for our 4x4, it's a 4 and now into the starter base. So we set it up like this, keeps it nice and open. This little corridor here with lots of boxes, and then this would be your main 2x2 starter with your TC over there. So overall, nice and spacious and enough boxes to get you going and expand up to a more dangerous stage. Wrapping in just a full 2x2 boxes, bags for the whole team and such, and then we jump up through our standard kind of 2x2 setup here, wrapping all the way through, spamming deployables as you need them, and then more of a little rekit center here. You want to get this set up nice and early, and we expand to our inners. Everybody gets a bed up here, lockers are below, and we come out, little airlock into our inners floor. Now from here you can set this up with the frames if you'd like this to be tighter. These are really good early game angles. If you can imagine, before everything else is set up, China wall and such, even the compound, you're gonna have some amazing angles to look around and through. You can window glass these off if they're being used against you, but overall a nice tight Patrico as well. We get the downward angles into our shell, looking around and through. Good coverage throughout, which is nice. And these are on all 4 sides, giving us some nice downwards. More beds along here to keep the mobility nice and smooth. This is where the chutes line up as well. And then these are your dropouts as well. So you can quickly go from inners to ground floor nice and fast, which is super convenient. Of course, shut the doors on your way down. That's the inners though. We get the angles on every side. Dropout, chutes, and beds. Respawns for everyone. Up next is our open core, and we go up through the chutes to access that. Just like so, we head in, and I really like this open core setup. Kind of similar to our latest 4x4, a little bit different though, with some cool stuff to show off. So we have retakes watching from our open core beds to the door path to make sure nobody's coming in from that kind of direction. With the beds, these are pretty one way as well, which is nice. You can see, you can barely even tell that's an angle there. We jump into our open core, and that jump's always a fun one. Open up the doors, you can get an idea of how many boxes we are rocking in here. This wound up not being enough boxes for the actual event, but I mean, it was pretty modded. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, a lot of boxes around here. We can drop down, that gives us some more boxes as well, and the retakes onto the door path from here. Everybody should get a bed in open core, should be enough, and you can leave this kind of open in the middle. Overall, pretty nice setup. All these loot rooms are 2 walls from outside, and you can set up some turrets in here to keep things a little bit safer too. We do have some retakes above from the monkey core as well, so we can head up the net, and that gives us some nice retaking potential. You're going to want to make sure you keep this area stocked with kits, as it's your best spot for retaking open core. From here, I also set up some retakes into our shooting floor too, which I like a lot. You can kind of see if anybody's going around in there, and just keep it window glassed when you're not using it. We get boxes above, so everybody can rekit from here. Boxes above this too. And then everybody gets a bed, and these are the retakes into our OC, 1 on each side, and a half wall to play off here as well, as this is a pretty important space that we would not want to lose control of, so keep that in mind. Beds for everyone, boxes for everyone, and retakes into OC and shooting floor from here. The monkey core is completely split from the base. Hopefully that means that it avoids any natural raid paths, and you'll have these bedrooms for a long time during a raid and be able to retake your most important areas from them. Heading back to the same mobility chute now, we can go ahead and jump up, and it's still 2-sided sim as we go through. We get a little one-way into shooting floor here. Decent long angle. We'll probably be able to get a kill off this one, as it's actually quite long, and then we can jump out and through to our shooting floor. Into our shooting floor now, again, we have done some shotgun grab tech here because wasn't a lot of turrets allowed. We do have our wide gaps kind of sealed off with this double door as well, and I know these are armored. That's just for the theme. You don't need to spam armored doors throughout your whole base. But we get a nice Patrico here, and if you utilize the deployables as I do, you can make this focus either downward or distance, and it's a good tight angle, very hard to take you off. On every side, we do get a triple brutalist as well, and these are super effective. You'd have more than one person up here rocking this too, which is really nice. Fall protected and tight to spray down at some raiders. It's also a retake up onto roof. You don't see a whole ton from here, but you can kind of toggle it back and forth and get a rough idea if anyone is up on roof and be able to take them down from there. As for the downward angles, I have kind of protected these, so anyone from a distance can't really focus us and take us off the wide gaps. As this is quite a large angle, we want to just focus the downward. We can see towards the China wall anyone keying up, and then anyone close to the base we would like to target from here, whilst anyone towards the fob can't really touch us. If you want to open up some wider angles though, on the corners here, I left these completely unfob protected, so we can look out and far around the base, just like this. And then we get some slightly more downward from here as well. Very nice. That's our retake from the monkey core here as well. Just glass that off when you're not using it. And overall, I think that's a good shooting floor. Pretty impressed with that one. We can go back into, from this same shoot, we can go ahead and jump up now to another kind of bedroom floor. We get some brutalists on this level, and these brutalists, of course, would be built before your shooting floor and before all the chinling goes down. So just imagine early game, you build up to this height, and you've got 4 brutalists on top of your roof to help claim your build spot. Bedrooms on this level, so some people are going to get a sectioned off bedroom with a locker. Give that to your favorite people, and then the lesser members of the team can just get a bed out in the open with a barrel too. Good little rekit floor, and it's where our mobility chute lines up, and then 2 doors out to shooting floor. Lots of beds up here, lots of retake potential. Dock this up nice and early, and now let's take a look at our roof. As for the roof, again, I'm pretty impressed with this one. It's set up for shotgun traps here as well, as again, the event did not have a plethora of turrets, nor did I plan to have any of them. But here are some of the angles on roof. So we get a nice fob protected downward angle here, which is pretty clean. And we can look down and through from there, crouch peek on that. And we get a good little Patrico here as well to play off as well. And then in the center, above our triple brutalist, we repeat some of the shooting floor angles. And again, super effective, really good angles here. Turret is above, watching through some chain link, keeping an eye on the entire roof for us. And our SAMs are not visible from the outside either. You'll need quite a tall raid base to start exploring those out. We do get a brutalist up on this height level too, which is super nice. And you can utilize the same Patrico from on top of this ramp as well, giving us some playful angles to use. And these are repeated all the way through, which is pretty clean. The last thing to showcase, which I think is quite nice, are some extra bedrooms up on the roof, and you can stock these up with some gear sets, and they provide some one-ways onto our roof on the long angles, which I think is pretty clean. So anyone that is running around through here, they're going to have a tough time even seeing you in this angle, and you're going to be able to take them down pretty easily. And this is a common spot that we would see people running back and forth from, and this bedroom does provide 2 of those. So you get some good coverage on roof and retake up from here. Throw a garage door over these loot rooms so they're a little bit stronger. And then from there, you get that nice retake. And you do get the fob protected downward as well in this bedroom too. Overall, that is the base design. It served us pretty well in the event. Next, I'm going to break down the build cost and upkeep. And I'm not going to lie, it's pretty scary. Okay, this is for some big teams on some competitive servers. But first of all on screen is the total build cost. Second up is that build cost in box amounts. And lastly is the total upkeep that's spread between 5 TCs, and the main TC is holding the majority of that upkeep. Or if you do this single TC, the upkeep will be much larger. So let's go ahead now and teach you guys how to build this one. The bare minimum that we need to claim our build spot in the beginning of wipe day is a simple 2x1. And you're going to want to build the door on the left side over here. And you can throw your TC in the back right. That's all we need to claim the build spot. Of course, you could just do 1 square as well, I guess, but this is what we're rocking for now. Keep in mind when we expand through, this goes into the 2x2. However, this is the center of the base, and that's the start of the mega starter. So keep that in mind when you're building this. Try not to get confused. We'll have an entrance into our 2x2 from here, and our jump up is going to go through into this section. So you get a bit of a 2x2 here. However, keep in mind your main 2x2 is actually in the middle section here. So try not to get confused when building the mega starter of a 4x4. The next step that we would do is have some double doors leading through like that into our big loot rooms here. And we can seal that whole floor off like so. And then you can divide these down the middle and set these up as I did, I believe is the most spacious way, whilst giving us lots of boxes too. If you have the DLC, this is a nice setup here. Then from there, you're able to add a second floor, and you want to come towards the center. So try not to make that mistake there. So you're walling up and through like this, jumping up opposite end of the jump up so that there's a full door path wraparound like so. And you can just seal things up with a double door for now to keep things a bit safer. So you got your normal 2x2 core, mega starter out to the side. This double door path through here leads to either side of the basement, and we can start raising up the center part here for a little bit of roof campability. So when you have more mats, we'll take this up one more level. Again, we are wrapping through door path to door path, all the way up and over. One more time. And this time we're going to exit out with a single double door airlock, like this at the top. And you can remove this window and just go for a wall if you want. It's completely up to you, depending on how far away from window you are. Maybe it's a fresh wipe. Once you've done that though, that gives the base some defendability, and it's looking like, and hopefully this is a decently memorable shape for you boys to keep in mind. In this stage, the base is still not exactly super defendable, so it would be nice to get our basement down to add some retake potential and give us some more space for beds and respawns. So we're going to come around the front here, and I'm going to throw in two-sided symmetry, as this is a very large base design and we're not trying to keep this video too long at all. So we're going to add a row of squares off the sides here next to our mega loot rooms. I'll have an icon on screen to let you know when two-sided sim is on, but essentially what it means is what I do to one side will be done to the other. So we're building our basement on both ends. On the right-hand side of these kind of two squares, we have a window, and that's our retake on the front door. You can then wall this off and add triangles on the corners. You're going to want to raise these triangles up to the height of 2. The one on the right-hand side is going to be a jump up, and the one on the left is going to be a retake. You can add the triangles in there like so. And the doors as well. There we go. We can do that over here too. 1, 2. 1, 2. Jump up. And retake, retake. And all that seals in. Then you can add doors off of these squares. And if you'd like to have a little bit more online defendability as opposed to offline, I feel that a half wall is a good thing to play off here in the basement, and I think it'll help in a raid defense. If you're not a fan though, that's another spot for a garage door. And there we go. We got our retakes in. Something I like to do as well, as this is quite a large retake and it doesn't cost so much. Obviously a sign is not the strongest item in the game. This can be shot out. I throw these on just while I'm playing actual wipes, and you can see that tightens up the retake so much more, making it a lot harder for people to hold you in here as well and hit your head. So that's a decent little trick we can do there. For now, teammates should just be entering the base from here. You can give them some foundations, and ideally everyone on the team is okay jumping into a window frame like this. But once you've got some more mats and you're ready to expand through, we'll bring this up into a normal jump up. So our actual door is going to go here, and we'd wrap around the walls like so, creating a Patrico in front of us, half walling the top, low walling the bottom, and carrying through the shelf to jump on here. We can then enter the base on the left side, and you can either single or double door that, just depending on how you're feeling and what the team is looking like they would prefer. And then from there, you can just full honeycomb this one in. And get ready to continue the jump ups like so, blocking this with a double door for now so that nobody can go deep from above. Over on this side, so it's just two-sided sim that we're rocking for now, we don't actually do anything. So there we go. We can just wall that off, keeps it nice and simple. And the next best thing that we can try and do is seal off our shell. At this stage, I'd be looking to seal in our inners and look to create that early game shooting floor as well above. So we're going to add walls all the way through this section, just raising them up like so. Even on the center part here as well. And you'd want to bring up your chutes with you as well if you can. So you can take that door off. Jumping up in the center again, and we're just walling off this triangle as we don't use it. From here, we'll raise this up one more level. Again, we're just honeycombing this section. Jump up in the middle. And we'll add in the double door so we cannot get deeped from above. And that's how we should be looking now. On the corners, we add in a floor. And we can add windows next to that. And that happens on both sides like so. Next from there, on the corner squares, we're going to look to our right-hand side and throw down a square. Go to the next one, throw down a square. And now we know what the pattern of the inners is going to be. So you're going to have your ramp facing towards the empty square. You can do that on here as well. And that should leave our entrance nice and smooth so that we can just walk in and out from floors like this. Once you're ready though, you can drop down, throw a half wall in your shell, and a frame on top. capping it with a half wall again. And you can repeat that on this side too. So there we go. Now your shell's looking good. From above with twig, you're going to want to throw down a floor and a raised ramp facing towards the lower ramp. And then you can upgrade this, and you can either come underneath and demolish the twig, or you can just shoot it out with a gun from above. So we did that here. And that creates our inner peak downs now. Opposite our mobility chutes on the floor side, we're going to have a single door, and then that will allow us to drop out as well. Keep that in mind. And you can just seal that for now so that nobody can come into our inners. And then the last thing you want to add in is the bare minimum half wall frames just to close these windows up. And assuming that you have enough mats, you can go ahead and do the entire thing closed in. This is how we want to set these up to give us the tightest angle possible. And you can see how effective this is going to be early game. Once you've got them fully covered in like this, really not a lot raiders can do against some angles like this early game. So really nice setup here. As for the rest of your inners floor, it's a simple couple of doors down this section here, and then ceilings all the way over the top. And there we go. You can also fill in the rest of these half walls to keep this whole part covered in. At this stage, I'd want to raise up the mobility chute so that we can come to this height level without being door camped. So we're going to bring these up to one more level, just like so. And then again, we're adding a door here for anti-door camp and an exit here, and you can take this one off. So now we can at least come up to this level and utilize our roof if we need to. At this stage in the build though, the base is looking nicely defendable, and I'd like to go ahead and brush to our compound. In order to do that, I'm going to throw down the rest of the foundations for the 4x4 so we can envision exactly what we need. So over on the side with the dropout, we're going to add in the 3 triangles so that matches this opposite side. Next from there, we're going to do the corner sections as well. So we'll start by working on the corner sections here. We have to do a short build out to get the H-Dune square down, coming out with a couple of squares and triangles to get this kind of shape here. So you can see the little build out, just like so. You can break the twig, and this is how we like to finish it off. There we go. So that's the shape we're looking for, and you can upgrade these foundations for now. And then you can just join these all together as well. And then this is the bare minimum you'd need to build to prevent any decay with these foundations that are not all technically touching. We'll add this on this side as well. So we're coming out, square, triangle, square. And that's the shape we're looking for. And then the bare minimum that we need to join everything together and make sure it's all on Mainbase is that. Make sure you don't add any walls on top of this section just yet. We need to make sure this foundation spot is clear. You don't need to leave anything there for now, but just make sure we're not blocking any build-outs, and only build what I've done so far. On the center, on the 3 triangle sections, we're going to be coming off and doing a 3 square wide gap. This means we're going to build out with 3 squares, cap it with a triangle, break everything in between, and return back to create this shape in front. And that's what we're looking for over here. We can go ahead and fill it all the way in, but for now we only need this foundation. In the tutorial, I'm going to build this exactly the same as I did in the actual event, which means we're going for the single TC option. For single TC, we're going to reconnect this to Mainbase just like so, by adding a half floor, window, and a frame. In between, we also need part of our wide gap that's going to get blocked later on. You can set that up like so. Over here, we can build part of our wide gap as well, as that's going to be blocked by the reconnect. So we throw that down nice and early. And we want to raise frames all the way through, joining together. You'll be able to get a half wall off of your jump up here, and you can wrap it through like this. So this is our reconnect to Mainbase. This is the wide gap that we needed to build before the reconnect. As you can see, it needs to go in that order, or else you're not going to be allowed to have it. That's the bare minimum that we needed to upgrade, and then we'll just connect all of this together. And these are the most important kind of setups that we need to do. And we'll do this on the opposite side as well. So on this side with the dropout, we'll obviously need to raise up some walls to connect to. We're going to come out with the 3 square wide gap. Give ourselves the full shape. Upgrading this. Taking ourselves up a half height window. Building our wide gap with a wall in front for the shell, then creating our connection, and you can half wall this for just now. And in order to get the stability for this one, you're going to need to add in a couple more walls on the inside, making sure you raise these up on the opposite side of the single door, leaving this space open. And then this should join up nice and easy and connect everything over. Now the next step we want to do is build out for a gatehouse so we can get our compound down. We don't need to worry about China wall for just now. That's probably going to be a job for later on once you've got a lot more mats to play around with. So we're going to come out with 3 squares and then create a little gatehouse off to the side here. Assuming you did not want to connect this to main and you were looking for some externals on this base, you'd want to build off and do an external instead. You would not have this connection here and you'd just build out as far as you need in order to throw an external TC down. And you could throw it down there instead, as I'm doing, and make this into an external TC instead of a gatehouse. But for the sake of keeping everything exactly the same, I'm just going to assume you want this to be a single TC 4x4, everything's joined up, and we make this into a gatehouse. So we're just going to throw down a double door, single door here, and some windows to look through. And there we go. And I like to remove the foundations and join this up with frames. It just makes sure that there is less space for raiders to play off of. And if you're pushing out towards a tall fob, you can still do some walling inside your compound, which is quite nice to have. So we join it up like this, and the half wall's ready for a barricade to go down on here later on. So we can do that on this side as well now, coming out with 1, 2, 3 into 3 triangles, breaking the join up, connecting it with frames. And you don't need to do that if you don't like the reasons why I do that, then you don't need to. And then we just make a standard little gatehouse here with a half wall on top. Okay, so next we're going to do some freehands off of the square section, throw down the foundations for the China wall, and then come out to a gatehouse so we can finally throw down that compound. So we're going to come out with a triangle into a square, follow this line through here, turn it into 2 low walls. You want to position your crosshair where I have it, right in between the 2 low walls, roughly at this height. The height doesn't matter so much, but this is where we're looking for. And you want it so in the center that the slightest mouse movement is changing the blue left and right. Once you've positioned your crosshair, if you press tab, you can see that I can move my mouse around without moving my character. It's essential that the crosshair does not move from where it is while we do this process. So I have a method for that I like to use that makes sure nothing can go wrong. Now that I've pressed tab, I'm going to pick up my mouse and make sure that I don't move it anymore. So I can unpress tab now with my mouse in my hand, and I can hit right click. Once I've hit right click, I'm safe to put the mouse down on the pad and move over to demolish. Then hit left click, pick it back up, and then right click again, down on the pad, pick it back up, and left click. And now we can ensure that our crosshair has not moved. We'll move over to the building plan now, right click, back down on the pad, grab the square foundation, and pick it back up again. Crosshair still in the perfect location. We're going to just give it a little bit of a backup. You can see sometimes you go too far, but you want to come forward and just make sure that you're as far back as you can be. That seems about right. And then you can throw down the square foundation. That backup is important to make sure everything connects. And we've got a new method, foolproof method, to make sure your freehands are connecting. So we're going to go ahead and build back with a square into 2 triangles, throw down a singular frame for me, and then just break these 2 foundations. If your frame stays, then that means your freehand is correct. There we go. No more checking stability, none of that. It seems to add too much confusion. If your frame is floating just like this, then thumbs up. Assuming nothing's red on any of these other sockets, then you are good to continue. If the frame floats, then you're chilling. You don't need to read the stability anymore. That seemed to cause too much confusion sometimes, so this is what we're looking for. These 2 foundations and a frame that will float just with these walls holding it up. And there we go. Once you've done that, we can build out into a square, 2 more, and then the 3rd one is our gatehouse. We'll break these 2 squares here, and we'll build a standard gatehouse off of this with a half wall at the top for the barricade. And we can upgrade this and join it up like this. And again, that just lets us do some low walls down here and still wall in our compound. You can upgrade this as well to make sure it's not going to get soft-sided out by anyone. And we'll do that on the remaining corner. And then we can throw some high walls around this entire setup. So we're coming out again. I'll do this one a little bit faster. Follow the line, get the low walls down, position the crosshair. There we go. Again, just make sure you're picking it up in between. And there we go. Does the frame float? Yes, indeed. Perfect. Coming Coming out 1, 2, 3. That's the gatehouse. That's the gap. That's the bedroom. And we're going to join these up. There we go. Beautiful. Now we are ready for a compound. We're going to join all of this up with 18 high walls. If my maths is right, I'm pretty sure you need 18 of the big high walls. Alright, I'm going to throw on a lot of symmetry for this because the high wall placement is pretty boring and we don't really need to see that. But we're looking to create a 3 high wall gap seal between these 2 gatehouses. So you can kind of bring this one over, kind of angle it towards this direction. You want to leave a little bit of a gap on the side there so that we can make sure we can make it across. And that looks about right to me. I might pull it away ever so slightly. And there we go. We got our 3 high wall seal. If there's some gaps, I'm not really worried about that. I'd rather have the 3 high wall seal. And that gives us a pretty nice shape as well. There we go. Obviously, on such a large footprint, I'm not expecting you to have a perfect build spot here. You're not going to be on an ice lake or anything. So if these high walls are a little bit scuffed, that's fine. That is the game we play. It's not going to look as perfect as it does on a build server. So don't be striving for that. And don't be disappointed if it doesn't come out like that. As for the barricade placement, you most likely don't even need me to tell you, but that's the barricades. There we go. Complicated stuff. The next thing that I want to do is throw down at least the foundations for our China wall so that you guys can see what's going on, and then add in the first layer so that it's at least a level for people to ladder over. You're free to throw large furnaces throughout this entire big compound here. Anything you want will fit in there fine. You should have plenty of space. So we're back on 2-sided symmetry for now. And what I do on one side is going to happen on 2 sides. So for the footprint off of the free-handed section, we're going to be throwing down 2 triangles here and 2 triangles here. You can see that will join up on this level here. Everything should be blue, and it will create a nice seamless China wall section as well. So we come in like that, and that's the footprint setup that we're looking for. I'll do this over here too. There we go. And now everything joins up nice and easy. The cool part about this section is I don't add any half floors on this level, so no grubs can actually use any half floors to get in and out. That's why it's important to throw this down for now and make the base a little bit safer. So it's nice and simple for this first layer. We're just going to throw down full walls all the way across the free-handed section, wrapping them around just like so. Over here it's exactly the same as well, just more full walls. And we just wrap these around, and this at least ensures that anyone trying to raid at this stage is going to need to bring a ladder with them and include a ladder in their path. Or they can blow through this door, and then it's a nice, quick, easy seal for the base owners. Alright, at this stage in the build, I would stab it a guess that your team are screaming out for an open core. Before I get onto that, I want to go ahead and fill in the honeycombing on this side of the base. Nice and simple, we just raise it up, full honeycombing. Over here, things in the middle are still honeycomb. And then this section gets ever so slightly different. We do a little bit of honeycomb, then into a drop-down single door like this. And you can just seal the rest of it up like so. And float a little half wall so you can drop out of this for free. And I like to do this on all sides, as it just makes sense. And we can even begin honeycombing from this level too. So we just bring it all the way up. And then we'll honeycomb the main base from that height level as we continue up. And there we go. Now it's time for the open core. I'm sure the team is asking for it. And we don't use any of the triangles in this open core. It's all pure honeycomb. So we can start by walling in all of the squares, and we're going to work in this section. So first thing to remember straight off the door path is we have 2 Patrico retakes that are watching us. You do not want to seal this in as we get a mega loot room on this corner. So keep that in mind. Just seal it up with a half wall and a low wall on the bottom, leaving this open from the top with a ramp facing up the way. And you do the same thing on this side as well. Low wall to create the Patrico, half wall to keep the head safe, and a ramp facing up, and the 2 ramps face each other in the middle like this. From the door we go 2 doors to door path, and then a wall like this. Then in the center we half wall the entire section just like that, adding floors all the way through. You want to go wall, door, so we drop down and throw that down. And you can divide this one as well. Then you want to get some beds in this section. You can throw boxes underneath here and utilize these retakes on the door path. Make sure you got some beds down here for the team. In line with our mobility chute over here is where our loot rooms are going to be. So we can wall in our mega loot rooms on either side. adding in a floating triangle for a shelf, just like so, and you can break this when you're done. Same over here. Our mobility chute does not enter the open core, only from this level. Down here, we actually just full wall it in, and we create a one-way into our shooting floor from this side. No door path over here, but continue the jump up going through, just like so. And then you can add ceilings on this section. Next up, we want to do a door across from our door like that. And above our door path, we do our retake from the monkey core. Beside this window setup, we're going to do a standard loot room with a half wall and a half floor like this. Then you want to throw down your boxes. You want to skin them to what they're going to be, assuming you're using like the neon skin set or something. You want to do all that before you throw down your net, even industrial. The net should be the last thing that you place. Then over here, we do a slightly larger loot room style with a floating triangle coming around the front. And that's how we set that up. You can break this. And then we door that off. And you can imagine how all the boxes go, but I'll place them for you. These are the mega loot rooms here. And if you place these boxes as far back as you can actually throw a barrel on the front section. And then these boxes just go at the back here. The next stage is to continue this up. So we frame over here and floor over here, taking the monkey core up to the next height level. You can wrap this section in, adding a half wall, ready for some boxes and a single door to enter up. And this is how we set up our little retake coming through. This extra square here is going to be a big loot room, so try and throw some barrels and some boxes in there. Then we can wall in the corners, add in windows over here. And for now, you want to actually glass these and embrasure them like so. Again, the mobility chute does not enter this section at all, so we can wall that off. Frame down and half wall the middle so we can play off this. Or if you're more of an offline kind of team, then just throw down another garage door. But I prefer to have this ready to play off. And it'd be good to try and upgrade this entire section to metal. Next, we're going to take the mobility chute up to the roof height level, as we have some brutalists that we want to throw down. And that's going to be kind of your shooting floor. You've got this, and then you're going to have brutalists at the top, and that'll be your defendability for now. So we can go ahead and seal in this little one-way section, even though it's not looking at anything for now. We'll have an exit out onto our shooting floor, just like this. Then from there, we can half wall this in. And continue the jump up and over to the roof level. Over here is going to be a locker for a bedroom, and you can create that like so. Then from there, you want to go ahead and start building your brutalists. So we go like this. Half wall window all the way around, and throw your brutalist ramp inside. On the right hand side is going to be a bedroom setup. We still need to half wall window though. Then you can create your bedroom. The beds go in here, locker in there. Continue through with the double door, and we'll do this again over here. This is going to be where we exit out from this side, and again you'll still get the locker. If you want to seal this floor in, you can just by building this out for just now. Give yourself the locker, and this would be where we would exit out onto our roof, and of course you can seal that off for now. Throw down your brutalist again, create your bedroom, and then we have more bed space in the center here as well. A little bit more exposed, but some more beds there. And from there we seal up the roof section with a couple of retakes like this. You want to throw your embrasures like this so that you can't look into the bedroom. Make your brutalist peak, and then you can bring this one backwards like that. So this is how the base should be looking right now. We got a little bit of floating going on here, and we can fix that real quick so it doesn't look so weird. So all of this is going to be pure honeycombing as we raise it up, and that's honeycombing our loot rooms inside open core. Important to get that going quickly. Once you get to this height level, you honeycomb in the center, and then Patrico to the left and right, just like so. And that's how the base should be looking now. Pretty dangerous at this stage, and you do have some good defendability, which is nice, some good shooting floor angles, lower down and higher up to play off of, and open core is ready to use as well. Just to make open core even safer, you can raise your honeycombing up on these sides as well, to take us up to the height of shooting floor, and that's going to help honeycomb the mega loot rooms underneath, so we can raise all of these up as well. since you're already in the honeycombing section. At this stage in the build, you may be looking for some more bedroom spots, and you may be expecting an online raid coming rather soon, and you're not going to have time to get the shooting floor up before that raid does come. Inside the shell, we can go ahead and build some more bedrooms too. The way these work is you start with some frames on the ground floor. Then towards your ramp peak, you want to set up this. If you've upgraded your ramps to metal, you'll see that you can actually get in to the bedroom from here with beds. So you want this to be either brutalist or armored, like that, so that you can walk underneath it. So you have your double door on this side swinging out, and then you add in some boxes on this level with a window and a Patrico like so. And then you can throw some boxes in there with some kits and 2 beds in this section, and then everyone can get in and out from there. And that's how these bedrooms set up. And we get 4 of those, which is 8 beds. So we get the double door facing the ramp. Either make this high qual or brutalist. Add in a floor there. Throw some boxes in. Give us a Patrico. And we get 2 beds on this level, like that. At this stage in the build, you guys are probably screaming out for some windmills and some turrets. So we're going to go ahead and start building up our early game towers so that we can get some electricity going. We're going to start off by throwing down a frame here to create our bedroom. Then on top, we can throw a half wall into a window, just like so. And this whole section becomes honeycomb at the top here. Then you can half wall off this, add in 2 frames all the way around, and half walls all the way around to match the height. Then from there, you can throw a floor on top, a little bit of netting just underneath. And then this is how we set up the tower. We float frames here and here. We float a locker here and a frame here. At the top of the tower, we can wall this section in, creating a double door, and we look down from there. And you can add the frames on top to create our Patrico angle with half walls on top. And lastly, a locker section goes in here, and you can just throw a barrel in here instead of a locker. I find the lockers are just less spacious, so you're much better off just throwing a barrel in here behind a single door, and the beds go in just like so. And there we go. Then a windmill can be thrown on here, and it's not going to affect main base at all, but just to be safe, push it a little bit extra back. There we go. So we do the same thing here. This is beds underneath. Then we do get a couple of angles for China wall that we want to build. Honeycomb it in, half wall on the back, frames on top, half walls again, double frame, netting here. We come up. That's going to be our way in. We float these frames for angles, and that's a locker. So again, at the top, we'll make our door. We'll add in our frames for our angles. Then you can throw down a barrel. And the beds go in as well. Lastly, a windmill on top. And there we go. 4 early game towers down, ready to use. The next thing to do is throw down our shooting floor, and I'm going to start building in metal so you guys can see the difference, as there's a lot going on here, and the shooting floor kind of has some room to make mistakes, and we don't want to do that. So with the shooting floor, we do get a little bit of a shell, so we'll start by throwing that down in brutalist. We can raise this up to the height of 2, this up to the height of 2 as well, and this up to the height of 2. So we have 4-sided sim on, which means the entire shell has been made here. This would be our way in, and you can wall this in too. So now we get a little extra layer. They have to ladder over this, and then they have to ladder over this as well. And the shooting floor will still look down into here, which is pretty nice. You can go ahead and throw some beds in here. So we do 1 bedroom like this, and 1 bedroom like that. And there we go. So it's hard to hold you inside. You can throw down all these doors. A couple of beds inside with a DLC locker and a shelf in there, and you're good to go. Next thing to do is to start throwing down some frames and bringing them up to this height for the shooting floor. So we'll do the groundwork for now. We're going to raise these ones up. This slot doesn't get used, we just leave that open. So it's just these 2 coming up here, like this. And all of those get raised up. Still got the 4-side sim on, so there we go, that's how we're looking. So on the front side here with the 3 kind of section, we're going to start by raising up. I'm going to make it all metal so you can see the difference. We're going to raise up to 1 height right before. So you can see right here, this is shooting floor level. We're going to stop at this height, and we're going to add in walls. What that does is it makes the wide gap a little bit safer from further out, so nobody can use the angle against you from far away. So you'd be setting up like this. And we do the same thing coming up from here. We stop one before and close it in. And that makes that wide gap a little bit tighter on all 4 sides, just like so. And there we are. Keeps the angle a lot safer. So we've done that on all 4 sides. Over here, we actually just raise up to the normal height, just like so. And on the inside portion of the square, we can raise up normally. But on the outside of the square, we're going to raise up 1, 2, go into half walls, frames again, and then half walls again at the top. And that's going to allow us to petrichor off of this section. Then you can fill in the floors like so. For extra stability, we can also raise up from here again, just giving us a little bit more stability for our roof. And that goes up nice and normal. So these angles are a little bit more wide, and then these are a little bit more deliberate. Next, we can come in front of this section, and we're going to raise up again and stop right before, giving ourselves a full wall. There we go. Over here, this is where the shotgun trap section goes down. And we do need to build this part for our shooting floor. We can then raise that part over. Add the walls in front. A little bit of China wall needs to be built here just to get our shooting floor going. And then we half wall the top here to match the height of the middle part. And you can just throw down your brutalist in the center there like so. Then from there we raise these up. And again, we're stopping at this height. And then just filling all of this in. And adding a little bit of honeycombing to the brutalist, like this. Raising all this in. And adding more on the outside. And now we're ready for the triple brutalist on the front side. So we're going to continue with the shooting floor now. We'll start working on this side over here. So we do our triple brutalist in the middle. We add in these half walls with these frames to provide a little bit more stability for a retake. Over here is going to be another angle. And we wall that in with a double door swinging out the way to cover this potential gap over here. So we can do that again, window there. And we cover the gap there. Then you throw down this frame. Get your brutalist roofs in with all your embrasures. Half wall on the sides, low wall in the center, and seal it all up, just like so. Over here, we want this to be a petrichor angle, so we're going to go ahead and bring this through. Going to be rough without flying, but we set it up like that. We can do that over here too. There we go. And for some more petrichors later on up on roof, we're going to add these in and raise them up to 2. You can add a frame in there if you want. Tightens things just a little bit on the brutalist. In order to fall protect this petrichor here, we're going to add a full wall on the front and a low wall like that. Super important to leave this as a low wall, as it's going to block some angles later on like this. So we need it like that. Low wall, full wall, just like so. On both sides. There we go. Over on this triangle here, we're going to do half wall into window. And that's the same over here. You can see that the door blocks the gap that we don't want used against us. Over on the corners now, we can drop down, placing these frames. And then we can add in our frames. We need to floor this one off and create our petrichors like this. And then you can add frames on there too, just like so. And then we can add in a lot of frames in this shooting floor. And then finally sealing it off. There we go. We're going to add in our floors from this side. Floors in from here. On the H-Tune square, you just copy what's below. And then everything else gets filled in just like that. And that is the shooting floor done. We're ready to do some roof stuff now. So up on roof, we're going to do a window facing towards this window. That's going to give us our little retake set up like this. Then you can full wall here. And there we go. Add half walls off this. And there we are. And then you turn that into a bedroom. And these are the one-way retakes looking back through. Over here you can add in a frame. And add a frame on the inside as well to give that some stability. And there we go. Then from there, we're going to add in a couple of ramps here, and that's going to block our SAM site. These need to go down first. Very important. It's a bit of build order, so make sure you throw these down first, and then the SAM sites are safe to go on here. Next, we can come over to this section. You can add in a full wall and then a half wall. Floor it in. Add in a full wall on the right, window in front, half wall on the left, and then a brutalist on top of that. And there we go. Gives us a nice little angle here and here. And we do that over here as well. So full wall, half wall, floor it in. Full wall on the left, window in the middle, and a half wall to the side. Make it a brutalist, just like so. Over here we create a Patrico, so we're going to come off with a frame, and then a window in front. You can make that a roof to close up the gap. We set it up like this. Same over here. Just like that. On top of this section, we can add in some chain link. Half wall chain link, just like so. And we create some more Patricos here and here. And we can add some floors down the middle of this, like so. And half wall this for a turret on top. Chain link goes in, turret on top. And these are some Patricos as well. And we fraud protect these by half walling them off. There we go. And I like to low wall that for the style points. And there we go. Roof is looking pretty good. We can get some finalized windmills for some more power at the top here. And now that's roof and shooting floor finished off and looking pretty good, pretty strong. The last thing we can do is throw down a China wall, get some more beds, and add a final layer of strength and defense, assuming that Wipe has been a movie and you're happy to spend some more materials on this base. So these front sections are actually finished. There's nothing else to add to them. Set up with a nice brutalist peak, but we're going to do a bit of a China wall section over here. And we're going to be throwing down a shotgun trap over here. On the inside, this is going to be our bedrooms. You enter in from here with a double door, single door airlock, like so. And then you get the windows in there, and that gives you a full 3 square bedroom, like so. As for the Patrico, we're going to be having it faced this way. So you can half wall on the left side, low wall here, and bring through 2 floors like so that we're facing down this long angle. You can then cover the head on this and do the same thing over here. Half wall, low wall, cover it in. This can be a full wall here, and you can cover the head as well. Over here, just full wall that in. Shotgun trap as well on the side again. And then up on top, it's going to be a layer of half floors with a layer of windows. Like so. You can add some half floors in here. Then half floor off the square sections as well. Like so. Next you want to do a little floating triangle off of here, and then you can create a full double brutalist down the center. Just like that. And then over here we're going to create some Patricos. You need to float frames off of this section. Float some frames from down here as well, and then you'll be able to get this half height. And then you cover all that in. On this side we keep the downward angle like that, and then over here you can flip the embrasure and use a box or beds to stand on to give you this nice angle there. And then there we go. Once you've done that, that completes the base design. Hopefully boys and girls have enjoyed this video. If you did, then please feel free to leave me a like and drop me a comment down below. But anyway, hopefully you guys like the base. Hopefully you're going to get some usage out of it. Join the Discord if you've got any questions. Remember to check out the Patreon, and I'll see you boys and girls in the next video in a bit.